This conference will now be recorded.
This team is pretty much in sync. It's the others stuck. Okay, that says 4:30. That's, okay, we're.
Mine says 4:30, yeah.
Right, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for Public Safety Committee meeting. Mr. Matthews, like to call the roll, please.
Counselor Halverson. Counselor Best.
Here.
Counselor Foster.
Here.
Counselor Sanchez. Yes. We have a quorum.
And anyone want to make a motion to maybe do the agenda and the minutes thing? I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 17th, 2023. Also to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's move on to the first regular item, to consider resolution 23XX condemnations. Mr. Franco.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. I have 3 properties that are on here. First one is 1315 East Hilton Street. This one is a new owner, so we have to re-condemn it under the new owner. And they have not made contact with us as of yet. The second one, 300 East Reed. This one is a new one. The pictures are in there. We had somebody living in here illegally. A family member has gone into the office and asked about how to take it off condemnation. We gave them the steps and they haven't been back yet. This was last month. And then the last one is 1105 West Deming. This one has been a real problem with our department, with PD also. The gentleman has passed away and people have just been living in there and making a mess. This is a house that other neighborhood would probably love to have knocked down. So many problems there.
No owners were found. The old man
No, he didn't.
have a family.
He didn't have a family.
Who's living there? Just anybody that,
Just anybody. There was just random people living there.
like new windows out.
Yeah,
there.
that's what I was.
Mhm.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah, the whole thing.
It's been gone for a while, so they just took it upon themselves. So the backyard is a total mess. I passed by there today. The back door is wide open again. And there's a couple of windows that are boarded up. I don't know who did that.
The actual structure is not salvageable.
Maybe it needs to be cleaned up before you can really.
But there's nobody to contact on it. Anybody have any questions? Councilors? Anybody from the public? Okay, anything emotion then?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to send to full council on the consent agenda with approval of condemnation and resolution removal of demolition of 3 dilapidated buildings. Trying to look at the addresses. Where do we have that?
Show on the pictures on the top.
Oh, there it is. 315 East Hilton, 300 East Reed, and 1105 West Deming.
Second. Real quick, question.
Mhm.
So the one you're talking about, like on Reed, if they come forward with the stuff that you do, this will come off?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we pull a permit and bring it back up to code, it'll automatically come off. We'll take it off.
Any more discussion? All right, then I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We go to regular item number 4, consider recommending authorize to advertise for a public hearing to consider the 23XX amending chapter 4 of the Roswell City Code regarding animal welfare. Thank you everyone for working on this. I know it's been a long process. Did you take it or just Hess?
Yes, I don't see Hess. Could you see if Hess is in since he worked on this? We can go ahead and get started on it. Yeah, they're supposed to be here too.
So what, just a little history, short history on it. So we've had a lot of problems with people not being responsible pet owners. So we've I've asked them to come up with maybe modifying the ordinances. First off, to make the fines mandatory, because when they go to court, they're not getting fined, being released. And to make the fines increase incrementally. So if somebody has a dog at large and keeps having a dog at large, we want them to take care of that problem. So that was the reason for these ordinance changes.
So I do have a question. Who is going to follow through with this? Because Barry and I worked on this originally with Mike, and it took us 8 months to go through this. Am I on the right one?
Yeah.
Took us 8 months to go through this. Paint Humane Society was here, Fora was here, quite a few of the rescues were here. We came up with what we came up with. They all agreed on it. And what I've read so far is that you are increasing your fines, which is fine. Even though they're mandatory, there's no one out there to collect them. When they take the dogs and they put them away at animal control, they have to sit there until they're released by the judge, which fills up our kennels. I mean, it's a constant ongoing thing. So who is going to hold these people accountable?
Well, if I could jump right in here. So it's not us going out collect. So these mandatory fines would be what the court issues. So that fine is paid to the court. So if the judge says, I'm fining you $50, you have to pay the judge or the court $50.
So have you looked at the judge's record on, because from what I understand, he does not hold people accountable when it comes to animals.
That's what I've understood.
So if he has this tool and he's not using it now at a small cost, is he going to use it at a bigger cost?
That's, Heston, correct me if I mistake something here, please, since
The
I
language says mandatory, so he lacks any discretion to sentence otherwise.
he doesn't have a choice.
Okay, so what happens to these folks if they don't pay it? Does their dog get taken away? Does it get euthanized? You know, so forth and so on.
Well, the way I understand it, and I talked to Jim Burris and she may clarify. If animal control is out and they see a dog running at large, they will try to scan it for microchip. If it has a microchip, they will then go to the home of the animal and say, hey, your dog is out, here's your dog. And they probably won't fine them like for a first offense. Is that correct? If it's a constant problem, then the dog will get picked up and kept. But the idea is to keep animals out, you know, because dogs get out. Mine have gotten out before.
Understood.
Yeah. But the problem we're having like right now with the microchipping, the ordinance says they have to be microchipped, but there's nothing in there saying they have to be registered microchipped. So they're picking up dogs left and right that are microchipped, but they're not registered. So they don't even know who the dogs belong.
Okay, so you've got here that you want them registered to the city and a reputable,
Third party, whoever the company is that the bed
Whoever the
uses.
chip is.
okay, so do we have one that is mandatory that they need to be chipped for? Because how many are out there?
The
Bill?
vet picks them.
And if I could
Yeah.
jump right in there. So if you, whatever vet, they all use different chips and Chantel, please correct me if I mistake this with the, so what they have to do is provide that information back to us so we can put it in our system. Because if they do register it with the national, we can search that database, but if they do not register them at all, that's where we cannot get the information. So we.
Well, we
need
knew
the
that problem
information.
was going to come. I was just
Yeah.
asking questions. It's my job.
And the key is a third party charges, but if they just have the number and call us and give us the number, then there's not a charge. We have it in our system. So that works and that's not a, you know, and that's a good fix. I still get to a point where raising the fee and then turn around and make it, number one, I'm against mandatory. I mean, too many times I told Mike this, I taught at Dexter. We had a young man, great young man, on a roll, gifted student, drove his dad's truck to school, had a shotgun shell in the bed. Someone walked by and said, oh, shotgun shell, we better search the truck. They searched the truck. There was a pistol, a non-working pistol in a box stuffed under the driver's seat. And it was so far back and so much traction before it. The dad said, oh yeah, I was taking it to Roswell to get fixed. The guy wasn't open. I forgot and left it in the truck. And he goes, and it's been in there for 4 months. The kid never knew it was even in his truck. mandatory 1 year suspended. And he did nothing wrong. And so mandatory sentencing I understand why we're trying to do it. We're trying to do it because we have a problem at the municipal court level. But I don't think that this is a fix for something. I mean, and then when we're doing mandatory and then we're jumping at 4 times what we normally pay, we're going to have, pet owners are going to come in and say, no, that's not my dog, but he's cute. I'll adopt him for $1.
But yet you're also giving them 8 animals instead of 5. So they've upped the animals so more could get out. Or are you thinking that they'll keep the kennel?
Well, if there's a litter, there's typical litter to 8 animals.
Well, there's,
They have to have a litter, you have to have a litter permit.
Yeah.
yes.
So that takes.
And that's another one you put on here saying that if failure or something about that, you raise the fee on that one too. How many, since we implemented this, have we fined that don't have litter license?
I don't have that information.
So I'm going to say,
Hell, do you guys find anyone for litters? Because they're all over Facebook.
Yeah. so what we already have is not implemented or not used well, but yet now we're wanting to go up on price, up on numbers, because I think the county is 9 animals.
Well,
I think it's 5 dogs.
Is it 5 too?
No, actually, I think it's 4. I think the county is stricter than we were. When we made the 5, the county, it was like, I don't know how much they enforce it, but when we did the 5, the county was even stricter than we were.
I think county's 9.
County's 9.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, and we went down to 5 because of the fencing and the property that city folk have is not as mass as county. But, so I do have a problem with this, and I agree mandatory that's the government overstepping its bounds, but hey.
and if I could add one other, I'm not, it's up to the committee. I think and I didn't write this, but I'll speak to what I think they were trying to do here is that if we put in the effort when we do cite somebody into court for whatever reason, and all that work and effort is placed into the investigation, trying to figure out where this dog came from, and then ultimately ends in a citation, we end up before the judge, and then they are getting a free pass time after time. It gets frustrating because this is such a hot topic in the community too. So just.
So with the word mandatory, you're trying to control the court, like Barry says, making the judge say, you know what, this is
If
mandatory.
you're found guilty of that crime of dog run at large and it's a $50 fine or whatever it is.
Well, obviously he's not finding him guilty because
No,
we don't have.
no, but if the judge finds them, that they go to court, they contest it, they plead not guilty, they do a trial and they say, are you going to plead guilty? Yes, that's my dog run at large. It's basically taking it out of the judge's hands and says, then fine $50 or whatever it is.
Because we're having, go ahead.
Is he not able to defer it if it's mandatory?
Do you have a lot of repetitive people, dog running at large? That's what we're trying to prevent.
Madam Chair, the idea is we're not charging a vast majority of people who have a dog that gets loose. That's not the idea here. It's that people who are really going and going and going are going to get hit with something serious. That was the idea. Now, of course, this is a pure policy question. So if you guys don't like it, amend it as you see, or don't pass it on. But that was the idea, that there's a lot of prosecutorial discretion. And so our goal is not to charge the random person who offense broke one day, but just to go after somebody who's a serial violator and make sure there's a serious penalty for them.
Well, then maybe that needs to be in there, but then your serious violator is going to have mama come down and pick it up, and then daddy come down and pick it up, and then prima and primo, and you're going to have all these people picking up this one dog. Just saying, I'm sure you already have that happen now. Just saying.
We do have where relatives do try to come in for.
I mean, it's pretty obvious in the dog.
But if it's microchipped and registered to the owner, then a cousin can come in and pick up that animal.
Okay.
They're not on the micro, unless they're the owner shows.
Okay.
So what are you getting? You want it to go back and then get rid of mandatory, but I still think there's some of these need to be in there, like the registry and the microchip. I think the fines need to stay the same. Maybe get rid of the word mandatory if that's what you're looking at. But with these repeat offenders, I think the fines need to go higher because, we don't want the dogs in animal control.
Oh, I understand that. Been there, done that.
But
Get
you've
it.
got people that, they're taking our manpower and stuff, constantly picking up the same dogs. And that's a problem.
The officers do try to work with them too, like fix the fence, give them time to fix the fence, recombine them for them, things like that, before we do have to bring them into the shelter. But if the officer feels like they've been out there one too many times, then
Oh, I just said my piece. I don't care what you do with it because,
Well,
I mean, my dog hasn't had papers. She has a microchip, but she hasn't had papers and she's 20 years old. And she's lived her whole life without it. It depends on the people that take care of it. And you're right, there are repeat offenders. I get that. Maybe you need to put how many times the one dog with that specific number or that specific family gets loose. And then after 3 times, then you slam them with the big fine. Some people just don't care. They have a dog just to have a dog to look at.
Oh, I know they do. And they say if the dog gets picked up, they won't even go try to pick
It's
it up.
just like horse people go the same way. They just turn them loose and out there.
well, on 9 here, unvaccinated animal, we're going $25 to $350. I mean,
Well,
it's kind of draconian, some of these. It's,
part of the problem.
Again, if somebody doesn't have their dog back, say, hey, please get it done. Pick them up a second time, please get it done. Again, it all rests on process. There's 2 types. There's judicial discretion and prosecutorial. And the reason it was crafted the way it was is because the policymakers that I'd worked with in drafting this weren't happy with judicial, but were happy to lean on prosecutorial discretion. And again, all of these are completely amendable by you guys as council.
well, and 500 is the maximum we can find anyway, by law. And so I'm like going, and some of them cruelty, I understand.
So what if we do this? What if we have Mr. Eintema send this to all the people on the committee, you go through and modify what you think needs to be modified. We can bring it to public safety again next month? It's unreasonable?
I have a question on the public nuisance one. How do you monitor whether the dog barking?
Yeah.
Well, you can call the police and the police can sit and hear
That's a witness. So if you have a neighbor who calls repeatedly saying the dog is barking it all out, and it becomes a testimonial question at the trial.
Huh.
It's just,
I mean, because we've had officers walk up and the dog starts barking.
Well, that's
They're
because, yeah.
supposed to, but that's their job.
We had that, I'd be confident, say probably several times a week, that phone call.
Yeah.
And they'll have that conversation with the calling party that the officer goes out there, he listens, yeah, the dog is barking, they'll contact that calling party and say, we're willing to cite them in court, but you have to come as a witness because the dog's doing its job while we're there. But if it's 2:00 in the morning and that dog's barking excessively all night long every night, you have to be the expert witness to testify before that judge that I am witnessing this, living through it every day. It's creating a neighborhood nuisance. And then the judge will take it into consideration.
yeah, and the other reason it's written in that way is it implies a private cause of action. So when it comes to nuisance, I know that my office would much rather not be involved. But a neighbor can take another neighbor to magistrate court for a nuisance claim as well and cite the city code saying that this is an established nuisance under law.
And just get Judy Stubbs here, it's allowing an animal, not and animal.
Is it possible to put in the ordinance that it's some of these are at the discretion of the animal control officer? Like if he finds a dog running at large, scans the dog and then takes it immediately to the owner?
This is first principles of government. Prosecution is always the discretion of the executive. So each animal welfare officer has their own built-in discretion, as any, everybody in this room probably has been let off from a speeding ticket by the guy next to me.
And the reason,
He's double mine. What are you talking about?
the unvaccinated animal, I think we wanted to get on that because
As a cousin.
a lot of these dogs are getting picked up and they are spreading disease to the other animals in the shelter
So
because they are unvaccinated.
sorry, so to answer your question, Council, I prefer not to put it in because when you put it in for one, that
Okay.
wouldn't necessarily ask why you didn't put it in for the other.
Okay. You guys want to look it over, have them email it, make your modifications?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. You want, Hess, would you mind?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You all have it in the packet, but
I'll send it right after.
yeah. We don't need a motion for that.
No, we'll bring it back next month or whenever y'all get your comments in. You'll read through it. Any of the blue stuff is what, I believe the blue stuff is what you added, y'all added.
I hope you understand why we're trying to do this. And we got a real problem with dogs and cats here in East Town and people not taking care of them. Okay, then, any more comments from the audience?
Yeah.
Okay. Item, okay, move on to item number 5, recommending to approve an MOU between CASA and RPD regarding.
We're going to bring it back next month. We're going to table it, bring it back next month, and then we can comment on it before next month.
Yeah,
Sound good?
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So we're recommending to approve an MOU between CASA and RPD regarding the use of a mobile command post.
Yes, Madam Chair and councilors, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're just looking for the recommendation of the approval of an MOU between CASA and the Roswell Police Department. CASA recently purchased a Class A motorhome for their travel, I guess, investigations. And because of our mobile command post being pre-Jesus, it's not actually functional at all. And so CASA reached out to us. We went and viewed it. They have given us full reign to use this during any of our investigative needs. They've also allowed us to, offering to allow us to use it for any of our special events at no cost. They will carry all insurance on the vehicle. They've also added up to 16 drivers at no expense to Roswell Police Department of the City of Roswell. CASA is carrying all financial issues with this, with the exception of oil changes or anything else in excess where we use it consistently. And of course, we would be, very open to that fact that we use it over a period of time or more than they do. I think they've had it for, I may be speaking wrong, but I think they've had it for about a year. They said that they've actually used it maybe twice in the field. So they seem that it was a win-win for us. It's not 100% set up as a mobile command post, but our needs, it would work great because our main agenda is just being able to give our officers and our detectives an area to get out of inclement weather, be it hot, cold, whatever, and be able to rally together and go over investigations. And they're allowing this at no cost to us, basically. They have asked for us to house it because currently they have it housed at a rental facility, which is being charged to them monthly. And we have come up with an idea that on the West Second facility, we have what used to be the flood control building that is going to be actually set up as our SWAT building. One of the furthest bay is one of the most accessible and biggest areas, and that motorhome would actually fit in there, and it would be completely enclosed and secured. And we've offered that in exchange if it agreed upon. And you should have a copy of the MOU if you have any questions.
What's the fuel costs that'd be on the city?
Upon our use.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Every time that we would pick it up and use it, of course, we would top it off before returning it back to parking. And that way CASA has, and of course, through the MOU, CASA has at all times, they have priority use. If they needed it or anything else, they have priority use. It's their vehicle. They're just allowing us to use it.
So will they have access to the building or will they just need to?
It'll be liaison through one of our property techs. Yes, they would have constant 24-hour access in the event that they would need it. If they had to go out of town last minute at night, they would have full contact information. And we would have somebody out there and gain access to it immediately.
We have police on duty 24 hours?
At least once a week.
So this is absolutely amazing. Instead of going on the consent, I'd like it to go on the full agenda with a little bit of a slideshow, maybe a picture of it. And something like that, and let CASA maybe bring some of their dogs in during the meeting and kind of show the public and a little synopsis of what CASA does. I think we can take at least 5 minutes of that for that.
And I think because of it being an MOU, by my understanding, even if it passes through, this is still has to be legal because of it being a binding contract through an MOU.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
My suggestion would be top of the list, right after.
Oh, yeah, at the top.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it item 35, but
Yeah.
Clerk's here, so I bet she can help us with that.
Understood, but I think it's just, this is something, even though it has no money attached to it, I think it needs to go on the full agenda so everybody in Roswell can see.
So legal first.
Because it's a perfect, awesome deal. Yeah.
And Costa has been a huge partner of ours. They always have been, but here lately, they've really teamed up with us and they've helped us greatly. And this is a huge help.
It's still one of our preachers though.
Oh, well,
So you want to make the motion?
I can make a motion, that's fine. I would like to go to legal first and then to full council. I don't know if I can do that. Consider the recommendation of the approval of the MOU between CASA and RPD regarding the use of a mobile command post. And a little bit of a slideshow and a pat on the back for CASA.
And will you, Taylor? Mike,
I'm sorry.
you'll contact CASA and if it passes legal, well, I'm sure it will, but
Of
about
course,
coming to the city council
of
meeting.
course, yes, ma'am.
I second.
Any more discussion? Any comments from public or the audience? Okay, all those in favor to approve the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. I think it'll be good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6. Consider to ratify ITB 2314 repair of water damage to Fire Station 4. Award to the only bid custom construction. So that's at the base, right?
Correct, yes.
So they're still not in that place?
No, but we were able to fix this to help put a deadline on it so that it is moving. Basically, it was just to shore up some paperwork, is what all this is about.
Because it's been a year, I know, because.
It's been a long.
Yeah, well, it's been longer than a year, right? Yes.
I could jump in here. So what this is actually the ratified decision that I've already made. So we found some problems with the procurement side of it because when the leak initially happened there, it was a demo contract. We do have a demo contract with that same contractor was putting it back together. Apparently we have to have a separate, put it back together. And then we had another water leak right before we moved in, flooded the entire building again. So we had to put an emergency ITB out. We have to be on that station by the February the 28th, or that's the deadline I placed on it. So the contractor knows that. So if I did not move on this because we have a FAA inspection next month in March, it wouldn't be approved till the March meeting.
Oh, okay.
So since we only had one bidder, he was actually the contractor that was doing the work on it. So I've authorized them to move forward, and I'm asking you to ratify my decision to move forward. And so we'll have this station back open by February the 28th.
Does this have to go to infrastructure too? Or?
So it just needs to go on to council for consideration of the ratification.
But that's-
Technically, it's 58,000, right?
It's with tax and everything, I think it's over the 60.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna say. Oh, okay, well, that's where I was like, going. I saw 58,000. We don't need anybody to do 50.
It is an insurance.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
The insurance is covered.
So if we approve it, it doesn't have to go to full
full
council.
council. Yes, it'll go to full council, but the work will already be done.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, it's a ratification of mine.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Okay. Okay, motion.
I was trying to find the actual word. Where are we?
Page 23.
Ratify the ITB, yeah. Madam Chair, I'd like to send a motion to, on the consent agenda to ratify the ITB bid number 23-014, repair water damage to Fire Station 4, and award the only bid to Custom Construction, ratify our city manager's decision.
Second.
All those, oh yes, go ahead.
I apologize. I believe finance would want to see this too.
What's their meeting? Next week?
No,
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
I apologize because it had a financial impact.
But no, but it's
It's an insurance claim, so it shouldn't have any financial impact.
It's up to the committee.
I'm sending it to full council.
Good for you.
Finance doesn't need it.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Nobody, motion. Okay, Brian, what is my lead?
Councilors, met Brian a year ago now, and we've been trying to get him here. I wanted him to meet everybody. He asked to meet everybody. Brian's the new executive director of IDLEA here in Roswell. I know they're working diligently to get their program back up and running, so I invited him. I thought it'd be good for him to come share the vision and everything he has for the IDLEA, and everybody gets to meet him. So
does anybody not know what the IDLEA is? We are not FLETC. Don't want to confuse anybody. You probably remember Dr. John Chambers. He was the previous director. IDLEA Roswell has been operating here for 21 years now. We've actually operated out of our current structure since 2004. We were shut down like the rest of the world due to COVID. If you're not aware, most of our used to be trainees, now we call them delegates. Dr. Chavers and a couple of individuals basically enhanced our program, and now it is run as a executive level, senior level symposium. So when you see delegates come back, which will happen in April, they are judges, senior prosecutors, chiefs of police, very senior level individuals. That is different than the other 5 IDLEAs that operate around the globe. There is one in Budapest, Hungary. That's the oldest. It's been there for 27 years. There's one in Bangkok, Thailand, about 25 years. One in San Salvador, El Salvador, one in Gaborone, Botswana, and we now have a regional training center in Accra, Ghana. So they each cover their regional areas. We cover the globe, which is why I took the job here. We bring delegates from all around the globe. So that's kind of the background history on it. We started out comparable to the other ILEAs. It's where the rubber meets the road, operational level, police, law enforcement, but now it is an executive level program. Our primary presenters are Department of Justice, lawyers, judges, senior special agents and law enforcement personnel across 17 different federal law enforcement agencies. Primarily who we deal with is FBI, ATF, DEA, Secret Service, Fish and Wildlife, and we're trying to expand that to some more agencies as we move forward. As Mike mentioned, we're trying to get operational again. If you don't know the history of the building, 10 years ago, the federal government has had problems managing domestic buildings. I work for the Department of State. I'm a supervisory special agent. The Department of State is our foreign affairs. They like to do things overseas. To manage something domestically like this building requires 3 levels of approvals and permissions to do anything. 10 years ago, they sent you guys a memo and said, we're giving you the building. We thought that was it. And then legal in Washington said, that's not going to be good enough to do anything because you're not legally covered. So long story short, July of last year, after I've been on board a year, you guys signed a lease with us, with the federal government. It is now your building and we are your lessee. Is that the right term? Yeah, we're the lessee. So we're now renting from you. We're still working on getting the money flow in. The Air Center is kind of like our de facto landlords and helping us get the building operational. What we're working on currently is replacing the chiller, which is 18 years old and has had problems. That probably won't come to fruition until the end of the year, but we've got an interim plan. The roof will get hopefully repaired in the next month, again, with the city's assistance. And there's several buildings that require new roofs around the area, so ours will probably be replaced in the same time frame. We're also upgrading our life safety facility. Matt and Jared came and did a walkthrough, upgrading our fire alarms, our sensors, and our smoke alarms and stuff like that. Most of the work should be done, God willing, and the creek don't rise, as we like to say, by 1 April. Honeywell, a city contractor working through the Air Center in the city, will be doing most of the upgrades and the fixes on our facility. If all goes according to plan, we are going to welcome a anti-gang and weapons trafficking course back to start on 18 April at our facility. So what does that mean for you guys? For the money game, because I know money is always important to anybody, we bring approximately 30 to 40 delegates in. So we'll say 36 is a nice round number is what we usually invite. We have expanded. I was appalled when I found out that our delegates shared rooms. Imagine that, 2 judges, prosecutors, chiefs of police sharing rooms in a hotel. So they all get their own rooms now. So that's 36 rooms at a hotel times almost 4 weeks. Round that up, that's almost $100,000 for a hotel per class. We're going to run April, July, a double session in August, September, October, and November. So 8 total courses. And the reason why we're doing a double in August is I knew we wouldn't be ready for classes in March. So I doubled them up. It's going to be a HSI, Homeland Security Investigations and Child Exploitation Services, CEOS. And we're running an African and an Asian group together in August. And it's going to be English speaking. So it'll be a great dynamic. And you'll see a very mixed group wandering your streets in August, as I heard. So that's the gist of where we're at right now. We're working very hard with the Air Center staff. And I know there's some interim people there. And they're pulling their hair out like I am as we're working towards that end. We have a new, very first time we've ever had a deputy director. His name is Tommy Brabson. He is from FLETC from Glencoe, Georgia. He just arrived 1 February. He's in the process of buying a house here. He's got a wife and 2 young boys, and they're excited to be here and work with us. We signed a new contractor. Usually the federal government does 1 year with 4-year renewable. That contractor is Alutic Information Management. They're part of a larger corporate group called Alutic, which has an ITIQ with the federal government. That's pretty much it in a nutshell without belaboring the point. I've given everybody a card. If you didn't get a card, need one, just hit me up. It is my hope. I know we have done some outreach in the past. We usually do at least 1 reception and invite the community to that. We're hoping to repeat that. We're going to invite key leaders to the closing ceremonies. We definitely get the delegates out. Every Saturday, we take them someplace, Ruidoso, Santa Fe, Carlsbad, and those types of things. We welcome your input. I want to ensure that ILEA is part of your community. I have met with Brian Luck, the superintendent of schools. I've met with General Grizzle. I've met with Dr. Powell. I've met with Tina Cisneros. Our hope is to find a way that we can engage with the schools and the academics here, whether that's through internships, career fairs, or anything like that. I've also had some preliminary discussions with Brad McFadden and Sean Powell about the Air Center footprint, emergency management response. Something happens, how we can collaborate, communicate. Has anybody not been there? Have you guys been to ILEA? So we used to have a computer lab 20 years ago. That was a cool thing. Now it's useless. Everybody's got a laptop and a smartphone. So we gutted that room. I am working towards gathering opportunity. I'd like to turn that into a de facto ops center, both for training, coordination with our delegates for how they can do emergency management and use that as a tool, but also to open that up to the community, RPD, fire department, emergency management. And if there isn't a facility for that, then maybe we can use that in the lieu of, and that might be a good tool. Since you guys own the building, I think it's a good idea to use it for something beneficial to the community. So that's my tap dance in front of you guys. I welcome any questions. I welcome you guys to come down there for a visit. I am looking at in March, towards the end or right at the beginning of April, before we open the doors to bring delegates back in. I'll invite all of our federal law enforcement, RPD, Chavez County Sheriff's Department, and the state police leadership in for a little roundtable and forewarn them. And Matt, you and some of your key leaders, if you're interested, just let them know kind of the scheduling, when we're going to have delegates in so that they're not surprised. And I know I've talked to both Mike Harrington and Phil Smith, and they're like, we don't stress until they show up and then we worry about them until they leave. So that is something we want to make sure you guys are aware of all that. Last but not least, my background, I am a diplomatic security special agent for the Department of State. I've spent 18 of the last 20 years overseas, high threat post, critical for terrorism, crime, protecting our embassies, our ambassadors, and our diplomats abroad. I am not happy that we don't have any kind of a perimeter and a fence and or more security here. So we are working, and I finally gotten a statement of work signed. We are going to have some contractors walk through the site this week and put a bid out, and we're actually going to put a fence up. Again, it's not going to stop a truck or someone that is intent to come on the property, but it will give us a buffer and allow the delegates to have an outside area to have a little bit of a safe perimeter, if you will. So that's something we're doing separate from the city. That's no cost to you guys. I think it'll look nice. It's going to be modeled similar to what's around the county courthouse's parking area, a little bit tighter so people can't climb it. But that's something that I've requested. I'm also working with my agency to upgrade some of our cameras and other stuff in the facility. So hopefully you guys will see us active again in about a month and a half. And Mike, thanks for the invite. And if anybody's got any questions, please let me know.
No, I appreciate it. Glad you guys are coming back.
So am I. Otherwise, I'm just a manager with nothing to do. Title director if you don't have any academy.
I don't think we get lodger's tax from that, do we?
We will if it's under 28 days.
You know how many days are they here?
Under 30 days.
Yeah, so it's like 27 total days.
Oh, okay. That'll be good. Okay.
Do that too. That's
Any more
kind of split with Karen and the fire department.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, Brian, for coming.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, department updates. Does anyone have anything that they want to add? Okay.
I was asked this morning, I'll throw it out there. Currently, I did work the numbers early this morning. We've got 13 total vacancies. Out of those vacancies, we've got 8 in the recruit academy. So hopefully all those will make it, and then we'll only be down to 5. So that's where we're at currently.
And the new fire trucks?
They're supposed to be here. I know they're scheduled to go toward the sign off on them towards the end of this month. And then if all goes the way the first 2 did, they'll be here within 4 or 5 days.
And you're working on my baby box.
Yes. Jill and I worked on that this morning as well.
You need a puppy box.
Well, that's the thing. They said sometimes people put puppies in them.
Madam Chair, just real quick, the plan is once we get the other 2 fire engines in and the 5 additional new police cars that are being outfitted right now, once all them units arrive, we'll set them up at a location, try to schedule a time to get the council there to look at them and take some photos and stuff of those. But I think it'd be good to have the 4 new trucks, 5 new cars.
That'd be good.
I was gonna ask, are we gonna have a push-in ceremony?
I want to have one, yes.
Okay.
And I want to invite the whole council and everybody, any and everybody for that.
That'd be good.
Want to tell the history of the push-in ceremony? I love it.
You tell it.
Wasn't it because the old fire trucks were horse-drawn, so you actually had to push the wagon back into the, is that?
It is, and I also, and don't quote me, I may not have this exactly, right, but I think part of it.
We have other fire chiefs
was
too.
the original first fire engines with gas motors. They didn't have a reverse because they were chain drive. And so that was probably disengaged that.
We didn't get no new fire trucks when I was chief.
We never got to.
We were
They were all brand new when he was chief.
They were still horse drawn. We're still waiting for that to come out. I'm just.
And making notes of everybody.
I knew it was coming, DC. It had to be you.
Madam Chair, I'll make one last comment I want to thank Brian for coming. I'm excited about getting the program back in the community. I think they're going to be a big asset to the community, and also want to welcome Jill back.
Yes.
Have her back and doing well, and we're looking forward to getting her back full time. And it's good.
Thank you. Good to be back.
How's your dispatch coming? Then we're trying to move into the new space.
Oh, we're a long ways from the new.
Okay.
Do you want to update them on anything at dispatch staffing or?
I still need to come by there.
We were about to have 3 openings again. I sent out 17 tests last week, and so far I've had 3 that did the test, and it will lock tomorrow. So we had interviewed a young lady from Artesia, and she turned us down, contacted me and said, I've rethought it. So she's said she wanted to retest, and I've yet to see her. So we'll see. We do have one in the background stage. So hopefully get some people in. We're, like I said, with the one, we have 1 leaving, so we'll end up with 3 openings again.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, then I guess we can adjourn. Next meeting, oh, that's long.
That's wrong.
No, that's all right. Next month. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Are you adjourned?
I'm adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
I go through this. All right, is Elizabeth in charge of that?
So,
Needle pulling thread. She's in charge.
Yes,
She
Joe?
Manages